Good afternoon and welcome back to By Any Greens Necessary. I'm your host, Melvin Thompson. I'm the Executive Director of the Andaleo Institute. By now you should know that Andaleo is the Swahili word for progress, growth, and development. We are the nonprofit community development arm of Trinity United Church of Christ, located at 400 West 95th Street in the Washington Heights, the beautiful Washington Heights community. Welcome back. Got a lot to tell you about. We're nearing the end of summer, or at least the last month of warm weather. I think summer doesn't officially end for another month or two, but we're winding down. Kids are about to go back to school next week and all of that good stuff. But this weather is probably, if you could just bottle it. Our markets have been incredible over the last couple of weeks. Just perfect weather for shopping. We're seeing folks come out. Watermelon is really popular right now, so we've got a lot of stuff going on. Wanted to make sure that I told you, as I always do, to come out to our farmers market, which takes place. We've only got like four more. Is it four more, T? There's four more markets left. We end on the 29th of September. So come on out. We will be there from 8 o'clock in the morning to 1 p.m. at the corner of 95th and Normal. We're right across the street from the church. You can't miss us. We've got signage. We've got a huge billboard that actually says "By Any Greens Necessary" that hovers over the market. So it's really a really good time. We've got African American farmers from Pembroke, Illinois, who come out faithfully every week and sell their wares. There's a really eclectic mix of farmers that come out, and of course we've got our vendors that are selling complimentary products. So please come out. We've only got 4 weeks left. Just experience this. I'm hearing a lot now about markets that are struggling. I read an article in the paper a couple of weeks ago, in fact, about how farmers markets are starting to see either a plateauing or maybe even a decline in some areas of their farmers market sales because of competition from the big grocery stores that are selling organic foods. But I would still contend that there's still inherent value to coming out and shopping locally and investing in people who do this for a living, that actually, this is how they make a living for themselves and their families. You may pay a little less for what you're looking for at the grocery stores, and we've always contended that you can do both. You can do both, and you can shop at your favorite grocery stores, but please, and this is really for folks in the community, please come out and support these people. This is their livelihood. You keep money flowing in the community, and it's just good for everyone. So want to urge you to come out and shop with us for these last remaining 4 weeks. We always build up amazing momentum towards the end. I think folks say, you know what, I've got to get my greens or I've got to get my corn, which by the way is delicious right now this time of season. So we always get this rush towards the end, the last 4 weeks in September, maybe even a week in October, but the last 4 weeks we really get a rush because folks, have kind of procrastinated a little bit during the summer, and there's so many other activities going on. So, please come out and, let's build this momentum, because we're going somewhere with this. We're going to a year-round market and a whole food hub and a grocery store. All of these things are par for the course for what we want in a healthy corridor. So, got any comments, any questions? Have you been to the market? Any questions about the market or anything that's on your mind? Give us a call, 312-738-1060. That's 312-738-1060. Wanted to share with you also about the market. One thing that our church is doing, we've got an amazing group of ministries. I think we have over 60 ministries, and one of those ministries is the prison ministry. And every year around the Labor Day holiday, they do something really special where they have a clothing giveaway. it's going to be amazing. I can tell you right now, we average probably 250 to 300 people at our farmers market, particularly towards the end of it. There will probably be, 1,500 people, 1,500, 1,700 people at this clothing giveaway, which actually illustrates the need for clothing in our community. So, sometimes, healthy food has to take its priority, because sometimes, folks can't afford to buy expensive clothing. And so, it's a ministry where we're serving and people are donating, clean clothes and clothes folks can actually wear to work. And it's just a wonderful thing. And so we'll be out there alongside of them, because they'll be in the parking lot adjacent to the farmers market. And that reminds me, T, we got to have a whole bunch of flyers out there about our community building visioning session, which is happening September 8th. And I will show you that with this overhead. You may not be able to see it all that well. Let's see if we can zoom it. Okay, that's too much. But you know what? We'll leave it right there, because the theme of the September 8th community visioning meeting is walkable Washington Heights. We're trying to create a community that's walkable. And what does that entail? So, no big, scientific reasoning behind it. We just want residents to be able to feel safe and feel comfortable walking the streets, shopping, engaging with each other. And we've got a blank canvas of a 95th Street corridor that has a lot of vacant lots, a lot of vacant buildings, and some things that we can repurpose, much like we did the library that you hear me talking about all the time. And so this community visioning meeting is going to be September 8th, a week from Saturday, and we're inviting especially residents from the Washington Heights community and the greater Roseland community and the connecting communities to come out and voice your opinion. We're going to have a number of African American developers and architects that have actually done wonderful work, exceptional work throughout the communities of Chicago. And so we thought it would be instructive for them to kind of come out and help shape some of the comments and the opinions that come from the community about what's possible, how do you get started, what are the barriers, and the like. And so if you have any interest, and this doesn't just have to apply to Washington Heights. So if you're from any community where you want to see improvement, particularly along your commercial corridor, I urge you to come out, because there's a formula for it. There's no question about it. There's certain things that need to happen for your community to become viable. And this is the third of a series of 4 community meetings. And so we're really, really excited about, what we've heard thus far. And that has been that we need a grocery store, right? And so that dovetails with our farmers market and the fact that we're we're producing this healthy food, and we're telling folks to come out and live a lifestyle of eating healthier, because we know that we're plagued with these kind of diseases, these preventable chronic diseases that, if we ate better, could be prevented and avoided, at all at the same time. And so it's really important that we can have a continuation of this healthy food lifestyle beyond the 3-month farmers market, right? So we don't consume all of these good things, and then once the weather changes, we go back to those those bad habits, because then we're not improving health outcomes. And one of the things that we want to do at Andaleo is empower our residents and our neighborhood to be active participants in your own better health outcomes. We want you to get the education, the nutrition education, and the awareness to make your own changes in your life. And so, no one can, force you to do anything that you don't want to do. And so we want you to create an appetite for these kind of things, and then the demand will actually come. And so, we're excited, and hopefully next Saturday there'll be people that will tell us, how do we get a grocery store? Are there chains Are there small chains that might be interested in coming into a community? I know we're challenged from a land perspective. So are there smaller versions of bigger chains that can come in, along the 95th Street corridor? I don't know. But I'm excited to find out, what is possible. So I urge you to come out and dialogue with those developers and those architects, a couple of them that I know very well. And so we're excited about that. But let me just tell you about, I was talking about power. I was last week, and on the way in, I was listening to my favorite public radio station, WBEZ, and they were doing this segment called Curious City. And they were asking a question, and, residents can send a question in and say, hey, this is what I'm curious about in the city. And so a resident sent a note in and said, what happened to the Jewish population in the city of Chicago? What was it like, and where are they now? And so, without giving you all the details, it was just very insightful, because there were so many parallels with the African American community. They migrated here in the late 1880s. They settled pretty much along Roosevelt Road and Maxwell Street, and just some really bad conditions. There were Germans and Irish and other groups there, and it was like a ghetto. I mean, it was really, but they found each other and they stuck together and they kept their traditions, and that was one of the things that struck me, that kept me listening to the conversation. And then, as they stuck together, they started to open their own businesses, and, just little small shops, and, they shopped with each other, and they grew, and then they wound up moving to, unbelievably, North Lawndale. And, as we know North Lawndale today is, predominantly African American, that was once a Jewish settlement from Maxwell Street. And so I was just amazed at, what they did and how they moved together and built a life for themselves, and they stayed together. And it was just amazing, just the transformation that they went through. And they weren't without discrimination, and that was the other aspect of this this period that they were in Chicago. They were redlined, much like African Americans. They were prohibited from living in certain places, so they made the best out of the places that they were, kind of forced to live in. But they assimilated, and they assimilated because they looked like the dominant population, and that was the one advantage that they had over African Americans. And so I saw that similarity, and it was amazing. I think I took a couple of notes, and one of the things is, once they got to North Lawndale, and again, they primarily resided along Roosevelt Road, which back in the day they called Little Jerusalem. And let me just read you some of the stats. They built schools, vocational training centers, community centers, and the area just became a very vibrant community, because they found community through the institutions that they built. And I think that's really instructive for us in the 2018 year that we're in right now, that they started to build their community through institutions. Check this out. They built 20 restaurants, 11 kosher butcher shops, 8 bakeries, 6 movie theaters, and 4 Jewish bookstores. They did that all within their own community. I mean, that's absolutely amazing, by working together. And one of the other keys was the fact that they maintain their own natural tradition, and that was passed down from their elders to the younger generation. And so they maintained that, and they stayed together. And then around in the 1940s, they around the time of World War II, a lot of them went to war, came back, was able to take advantage of the GI Bill, and the problem was they didn't have single-family homes in the North Lawndale area. And so, once again, as a group, they moved north to Rogers Park, which today you'll find the heaviest population of Jewish citizens in West Rogers Park, because that's where they settled, and West Devon Avenue is their main commercial district. If you've ever gone over there, for blocks all the way to the lakefront, there are nothing but Jewish businesses, from fisheries to high-end to just small bakeries. It's an amazing phenomenon, and it's really enlightening as we try to revitalize our 95th Street corridor. And so there were 3 lessons that came out of this: was maintaining tradition, even through assimilation, overcoming discrimination, and how they overcame discrimination, and how economic power changed the community that they lived in. And so just I talked about power last week, and just an amazing timing to hear something so enlightening. And I'm certainly going to be playing that. We, as part of our education program at Andaleo, we're imparting college and career readiness to young African American students in at least 2 high schools, Finger and the now closed Robeson. And we'll still be working with those kids who are going to other schools, which is a completely another story, as you know. But one of the things I want to impart, aside from the regular education that they get from Chicago Public Schools, is just their history of their tradition and sticking together and being a solid, cohesive community, even within the context of a larger community. I got so much out of this story today that I actually Googled it and played it again on the way to the studio, because it was just that impactful and influential. And that's the formula. Staying together as a community despite what's going on outside of it. And that's one of the issues that, as a people, I think we have had some successes individually, and we haven't stuck together to make sure that the community as a whole move forward. And so, it's never too late to turn inward and start doing, things in the community. Even if you've moved away from the community, there's still the opportunity to come back. I love what LeBron James is doing, in Cleveland, a city that he's actually left now, and is starting this wonderful school program. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take, us, doing for us to move the needle. And we just cannot look to the government or look to foundations to solve all or most of our problems today. And so, that's the takeaway from today. From grocery stores to healthy food to, building community through institutions. We certainly did that at the library. But there are other things that we can do. Lord knows there are a number of vacant properties and vacant lots that are, along the 95th Street corridor. If we go in and trust each other and take what's there and build upon it, I think that we can really be the viable community that other communities have become and have very much the same successes. I'm hearing about the brother in Florida, who's a nominee for governor. He'll be the first African American governor in the state of Florida. That's amazing. So we're making incredible strides. I think there's a sister running in Arizona, I believe. She'd be the first African American woman to be governor in a state. And so we're making these strides, but I think at the grassroots level, on the ground level, we as a community can be so much more impactful and change the smaller things. And I heard a commentator on the radio a couple of days ago talking about, let's not just wait for the sexy elections where there's an African American candidate and, he's running for a big office. let's be intentional about the smaller congressional races, the state legislature, all of those races, because the people in power that we don't want to see there are counting on us to stay away from those races so they can enact the policies that they want to see enacted. So one person in Washington, D.C. can't do anything without the assistance and the support of a number of constituencies, and so we have the power to make those choices. We can do that, actually, and so it's really important that we pay attention, that we change kind of like our DNA and not kind of wait for the major, sexier name recognition kind of things, and kind of get into the woods and find out, what this candidate stands on and what this candidate stands for. And if that person happens to be from another party, you know what? Let's control both. Let's control every party. Let's have our interests served for a change, and have both parties working for us, because I think history has shown that a singular party won't do it for us, and so that will make it incumbent upon us, as citizens, to do our homework and just find out where he's coming from, where she's coming from. Not just listen to what they say, but what have they voted for? What have they supported, right? And so that's nothing but an education. It's not rocket science. If it doesn't sound like it's something that's for our community, then just ask a few people, do a little bit of research, and the answer will be readily available. I mean, we've got a mayoral election coming up next year that's rapidly coming. There's a lot of buzz about it. There's a lot of issues on the table, and I guess you just have to ask yourself, are you satisfied with your lot in life? We've lost 200 African Americans since 2000 that have left this city to the suburbs, further south, the southern part of the country. What does that say? Is this some sort of grand scheme? Is this part of displacing? What is it? And so if you're content to live here, if you want to see things differently in this community or wherever, then is it time for a change, or do you want to keep things the same and keep working with the person that's in there? It's your choice. And I've said this to many people, it doesn't matter. Whoever wins will have the most votes. There's no magic to it. And so if you come out and we vote in blocks like we're capable of doing, we'll put the person who makes the most sense in that seat. And then once that person gets in that seat, then we can challenge them and be at those council meetings and be, not just let someone go in there and say, oh, okay, now he's in there, now we can sit back. No, we need to challenge whoever's in there, whoever that person may be, even if it's not the person that we actually voted for. And that's the only way our voices are going to be heard. And so, didn't want to get too political with you, but it's really all inextricably linked, and so it's about empowerment. It's about putting our people first, and for a change, demanding that some of the things that we're looking for in our community be adhered to. That's it. I mean, it's almost a selfish attitude that we need to take. I mean, other groups are being heard. We have to be heard as well, and we've got the population, we've got the numbers. We come from a faith-based institution, so there's no reason why we can't influence and have an impact on what the outcomes can be. Certainly it's about political, social, and economic power, and I hope this Saturday you'll come out, participate in the clothing giveaway if you have clean clothes that you want to come out and give. that'll still be welcome. I know they do that right up until that particular opening. I know there'll be a long line of people waiting for it to open. I think it'll open at 10 a.m. Our market will already have been open at 8, so it's going to be a really busy weekend on 95th Street. We encourage you to come out. By any greens necessary, we're going to get it done. My name is Melvin Thompson, and I will see you next week. Make sure you come out to the community visioning session, okay? See you next week.